Welcome to Energy, Tarot Tea, Astrology, and all things metaphysical. Hi, I'm Lesley Levy, and today we're going to talk about the full moon in Gemini, which is occurring this Monday, the 30th of November in the evening, and that is Australian Daylight Savings Time. So make sure you check it out for the time zone for where you live in the world if you want to know the exact time of the full moon. So the full moon in Gemini, it's also a partial lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipses are about change. Lunar eclipses are about almost fated change, destined change, if you like. And so the energy during a partial lunar eclipse is stronger than a general full moon. It's also a blue moon. This means that this is the second full moon in the same month. So again, this makes the energy very, very strong. Let's take a look at the full moon in Gemini and what it might mean for you. Now, this is particularly important if you have your sun sign in Gemini, your moon in Gemini, or you have a Gemini ascendant. But if you don't have any of those, this energy of the full moon in Gemini will still have an impact on you, just as any full moon does. Let's have a look at Gemini. So let's begin by looking at the energy of the full moon. What is a full moon? It is when the reflection of the sun's light is at its most clear. The moon is full. In other words, we see this beautiful silver white circle in the sky. The moon is at her strongest energy because she is reflecting the most light from the sun. And when we see this full moon in the evening, her energy becomes even stronger because we don't visually see the sun. What does full moon energy mean? It's about things coming to their peak. So if you've done any rituals at the new moon where it's about new beginnings and starting new things, and as the moon waxes, in other words, gains in light towards the full moon represents that point of culmination, the peak. And it's the point where something can come to completion and endings and releasing can start to begin. Now, the full moon in Gemini energy is mutable air. What is mutable air? Air is about thought, ideas, communication. It's about quickness. We think of the air, winds blow quickly. It is about quick thought. It's about variety. The mutability of Gemini gives that energy a lot of change, loving change, highly adaptable, highly flexible, and very quick on the feet and quick in terms of thought and being able to talk on the fly. Geminis are great at being able to quickly express what's in their head. Gemini energy is constantly looking outward. So that's why Geminis can be somewhat social butterflies. They're highly talkative. They also are very good with connecting with other people. They're good networkers as well. They're very versatile. But Geminis have a lot of nervous energy. A lot of nervous energy. So anxiety, lacking in feeling secure, lacking in self-confidence, while not obvious on the surface, can be related to this Gemini energy. Geminis can adapt to any situation. They are amazing. They're great at problem solving as well. And being the sign of the twins, they can see both sides of things, but they also have difficulty making decisions because they can be easily distracted. Very easily distracted with so many ideas. They're so curious, this energy of Gemini. Now, on the more negative side, the more challenging side, Geminis can be quick to lose their temper and can have a very sharp tongue. They can be prone to mood changes. Now, unlike a Cancer where the mood changes are emotionally driven, their mood changes occur because of their thinking, because they can get confused and caught up in so many different thoughts and ideas that can throw them into a negative state of mind. The other side of Gemini, that is not so positive is that that energy can have a tendency to skim over things rather than diving deep into one subject. So Gemini energy is kind of like a jack of all trades. And unfortunately, Gemini energy can be somewhat flighty. Being an air sign and being mutable, they can be somewhat inconsistent and can have difficulty committing and remaining reliable. But you know, every sign has its positives and negatives. So we're looking from one extreme to the other. For most of us, regardless of what sign we are, we move between the extremes. Hopefully most of the time we can find a happy middle ground. So for the full moon in Gemini coming up this Monday evening Australian time, we're looking at an energy where we have this emotional need, this emotional subconscious drive to communicate more than usual, to put our ideas out there more than usual, to be able to explore and use our curiosity. And it's particularly important to do this around spiritual matters with this full moon, looking at that divine feminine energy. So this full moon in Gemini is fantastic for opening up our communication towards the divine, making a strong and clear connection so that we can clearly receive information from the divine, so that we can clearly connect with spirit guides and have a clarity of communication, and also a communication that is emotionally honest. Sometimes, Gemini, we don't actually express what we're truly thinking. And so this full moon brings to light the deeper aspects of our emotions that we're not fully expressing. So with this full moon in Gemini energy, partial eclipse, so it's big energy, it's a blue moon, it's big energy as well. And so from that perspective, let's take a look at some crystals and some essential oils that might support you, perhaps with some full moon in Gemini rituals or some meditation. And then we'll do an oracle reading for that particular time period. Let's begin. Let's take a look at some crystals that may come in useful for you for the full moon in Gemini. Whether you want to put them into a grid, whether you want to do a ritual with them, these are crystals that are really helpful, not just for the full moon, but also for the energy of Gemini, that mutable air. So the first stones that I've chosen are moonstone. Pretty obvious for a full moon, isn't it? And I've got two types of moonstone here. This is a moonstone, just called moonstone. Beautiful soft energy. And the other one is rainbow moonstone. I don't know if you can see the rainbows in there. A little hard to see on camera, but what I like about this rainbow moonstone is that it has a little bit of black there. And when we think about the full moon, it's that white silver light that is shining against the black sky. So I kind of like the energy combination of the light with that bit of dark. So for my full moon ritual in Gemini, I am going to use my rainbow moonstone crystal. Other crystals that I've chosen specifically for Gemini energy, that mutable air energy, is fluorite. Fluorite is a stone of putting things in order. It's a stone of logic. It's also a stone of getting your thoughts organized. So it is about organizing. If you have a close look, you can see the different levels, almost step by step, like going up a ladder as the colors merge and change. Now for Gemini energy, this mutable air, you can be easily distracted. You can have so many different ideas that things can get a bit scattered. And that's why for this full moon in Gemini, with this need to communicate, this need to be curious and have variety, using fluorite can be really helpful so that you stay in a more logical, orderly pattern of how you do things, how you think about things, so that you don't get too scattered. The other crystal I've chosen for Gemini energy is aquamarine. Aquamarine is great for the throat chakra. This is a raw aquamarine. It's great for communication. It's great for spiritual communication and speaking your truth. And bless your cotton socks, those of you who have moon in Gemini or have sun or ascendant in Gemini, there can be a tendency to exaggerate a little bit. And it's not done in a malicious, bad way. It's just done through enthusiasm, through passion about something. So using aquamarine for a full moon in Gemini ritual really helps you to connect with your own spiritual truth, with your own inner truth, and to express that truth at the highest level. Another wonderful crystal that I've chosen for Gemini energy is celestite. And this is a beautiful raw celestite. Look at that. Now, this is great for connecting to your higher self, to the spiritual realms, to spirit guides. So it's about getting really focused. Celestite will help you to focus on your spiritual communication with whatever ritual you are doing with the full moon in Gemini. So a very supportive stone, and also a soft stone. The other thing I'll say about the blue stones, whether it be celestite or the blue-green of aquamarine, Gemini has quite a nervous energy. Your nervous system can easily get rattled. And so these are also good crystals for calming the nerves, calming that flightiness that Gemini can sometimes experience. The other crystal that I've chosen is Tiger's Eye. Tiger's Eye is a great crystal for Gemini. This is a golden tiger's eye. And it's really good for confidence, self-esteem. You know, despite the fact that you're talkative in nature and you put yourself out there and you're a social butterfly, your confidence can wane at times. And so when it comes to the full moon in Gemini, building confidence and self-esteem is really good energy, really good to do when the Gemini energy is so strong, and it's so strong in terms of our subconscious, in terms of our needs, in terms of our emotions. So building our emotional self-confidence, Tiger's Eye is a great stone to use. And the final stone or crystal that I've chosen is hematite. Now, Gemini, mutable air, you can get so stuck in your head. Everything is thoughts, it's mental stimulation, it's the mental stimulation that drives your emotions. So I've chosen hematite to ground you, just to bring the energy down from that busy head of yours and just ground it into the earth. Again, we're using this crystal, particularly with the fluorite, will help put things into a more logical, stable, step-by-step order. Let's take a look at some essential oils that can support you during this full moon in Gemini. And it can be used as part of your full moon ritual, or you might just want to burn the oils in an oil burner just to create that lovely full moon ambience. But for whatever reason that you choose to use them, I've got some oils that might be of help. So full moon oil I have chosen is jasmine. Jasmine is a soft, delicate, feminine oil. It's floral, it's sweet, it's light. It's a little more subtle than Lang Lang. Lang Lang has a very strong floral sweet scent, but jasmine is much more subtle. And that's why I like jasmine for the moon energy in general, but especially for the full moon when it's shining its brightest, when it's reflecting the light of the sun at its brightest. So jasmine, a wonderful oil to use for any moon ceremony, regardless of what phase the moon is in. But as I said, I particularly like it for the full moon. So I'm going to start off with a few drops of jasmine. I think I might do 4. Because it's a subtle oil, I will use a little bit more of this. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Sometimes you need to tap the bottle for the oil to come out, depending on the percolator. So that's jasmine. The next oil that I've chosen is particularly for Gemini energy. This is lemongrass. Now, lemongrass is great for organizing your thoughts. But the other thing I like about lemongrass is it's very calming. And with that highly nervous energy that Gemini has, particularly that highly nervous mental energy, lemongrass is both clarifying to the thought, but also calming to the nervous system. So because lemongrass has quite a strong aroma, I'm only going to put 2 drops of lemongrass in. to. This one flows a lot more easily. The next oil I've chosen for the full moon in Gemini is rosemary. This will help with scattered thoughts. Gemini energy has so much interest, so much variety, so much curiosity that rosemary helps with memory, remembering all the different things that you're interested in, remembering all the different things that you've got ideas about. Think of the old saying, rosemary for remembrance. Now, rosemary is a herbaceous, so it's very herby. So it's going to balance well with the lemongrass. So I'm just going to add 2 drops of that. Because it's a middle note, it won't evaporate quite as quickly as the lemongrass and jasmine will. And the final oil that I've chosen for our lovely Gemini energy, mutable air energy, is lavender. I call it my first aid kit in a bottle. I'm sure a lot of people do call it that as well. But this is great for calming the senses, calming the mind on all levels, sedating the nervous system. So I'm just going to add a couple of drops of lavender because it is also a middle note. Remember in previous videos, if you haven't seen them, I talk about the notes of essential oils. So we have base note, which is the more grounding, earthy aromas. We have the middle notes, which is the more sort of herby, herbaceous, the stronger florals. And then we have the top notes, which is more like your grasses, like lemongrass, the citruses like orange, the lighter ones. So let me just mix my little blend with my intention spoon and have a sniff and see how that has come together. And that is nicely balanced. What we're looking for when we're blending essential oils, particularly for ritual purposes or for spiritual purposes, less is more. So we don't want to put heaps of oils in. We only need a few drops of each. And we're looking for the aroma to smell as though it's one new aroma. So we will get hints of the lemongrass, we will get hints of each of the oils, but when we just inhale, we just get one overall new blended aroma. And that's what's happened here. That's blended really nicely. Now you might notice that I've taken my crystals that I chose for my full moon in Gemini and I created a little crystal grid. I like to create crystal grids when I'm doing my rituals or when I'm preparing my essential oils. The reason for this is I'm going to leave this bowl now because we're not quite at the full moon in Gemini yet. So I'm going to let this bowl with my essential oil blend sit in my crystal grid until I'm ready to make use of it at the full moon. So that's going to charge it with the energy of these crystals that we just spoke about. And that is going to bring that extra dimension, that extra vibrational frequency into the essential oil blend. Now, how can you use this blend? If you have an essential oil diffuser, whether the diffuser, some diffusers are electric where you don't put water in, you just put the oils in. Others you need to add water and then the oil, and then they diffuse into the air. If you don't have a diffuser, you can put a couple of drops of the blend onto a tissue and don't hold it too close to your nose. You don't want to be overwhelmed by it. Just hold it close enough that you can smell it and just inhale the oil just prior to starting your full moon in Gemini ritual. I do hope this has been of help for you. Now we're going to move on to a reading for the full moon in Gemini energy. For this reading, I'm going to use an oracle deck to see how we can better communicate, how we can better make a connection with this full moon in Gemini energy, with the feminine divine, with the passive receptive, how we can use that mutable air of Gemini energy to focus and connect with our higher selves, to connect with our spirit guides, so that we can receive clear messages from the divine. So let me just lay out the cards. And so we have harmonic flight. This is saying to me that this full moon is time to open up your third eye, to open up psychically and combine your psychic abilities with your mental capacity, with your intelligence, with that wonderful mental intellectual energy that is Gemini, that energy of communication. So this is definitely about taking a harmonic flight, being in harmony in terms of connecting to the divine and really opening up to the messages that you need to hear during this full moon in Gemini period. By doing this, you will open yourself up to endless opportunities, new ways of thinking, new ways of communicating, new ways of being. And the final card is Earth. But it is important that you need to ground yourself. So once you have this connection with spirit, once you have the communication flowing between yourself and the divine, focusing on the passive feminine energy of the full moon in Gemini, it is going to open up so many opportunities for you, not just mentally, not just intellectually, but on all levels. But it is important, in order to make these new opportunities come into being, is to ground them, ground the energy of the intellect, the thinking mind into the earth. And that's where the crystals can come in, because we've got the moonstone for the connection to the moon. We've got fluorite to be able to get our thoughts in order. We have celestite, which is connecting through our spiritual guides, through our higher self in terms of honest, truthful communication. And then we have tiger's eye to bring the confidence to be able to really hear those messages that are coming through. And then to ground them with the hematite, bring them into physical manifestation. So for you, for this full moon in Gemini, it is about making a divine connection. It is about listening rather than speaking. It is about hearing the truth of what is being said and then manifesting it into physical reality. I do hope this mini reading has been of help, but to finish off, I'm going to add a tea charm to go with each card and see what else we might be able to divine. So yes, we've got the telephone box. So it's making sure that we have a clear and direct line to the divine. It's a very tiny crystal. Tiny charm. I'll bring it up. So it's about making sure that you're dialing in a clear line so that you can take this flight into the spirit for harmonious messages. In terms of endless opportunities, with that Gemini energy, you can get caught up in so many different things that it's hard to see your way forward. So you can kind of get caught in a spider's web of ideas. So it's really important that you stay clear. And that's where the essential oil blend that I spoke about can come in handy, particularly using the oils of rosemary and lemongrass for remembering and for clear, logical thought. And finally, we've got the Buddha. And this is about bringing your spirituality onto the earth. Just as the card said, it is about grounding your experience of the full moon in Gemini and grounding it into everyday reality. I hope this has been of help. I hope you'll be able to use some of the essential oils and crystals for your full moon in Gemini rituals. Until next time, namaste.